Awesome. Well, we're gonna get started here. Just wanted to say welcome. This is our third webinar in a series of four. If you guys missed our first two, we did a general marketing overview and strategy, as well as talking about the importance of conversion tracking. You can find those at redblindmedia.com /music schools. So stoked to have you guys here, especially those that are watching the recording as well. Today we're going to be diving into ad creative that works. Let me start this. Oops. Ad creative is honestly a huge part of media buying and placing ads. Obviously, you got to get creative out in front of potential customers. It's also become one of the most important levers that you can pull when it comes to performance. The ad consoles, and we're primarily going to be focusing on Meta and Google. They have really automated a lot of the process and really rely on your ad creative that you upload to find the right audience and really get in front of the right people that are going to be your potential customers. So today we're going to focus on the different ad creative placements across, like I said, Meta and Google. The KPIs that we're going to be looking at to determine if the ad is a success or not. And then actual like ad creative that we are currently running and we're seeing working for music schools. And then finally, the creative testing process. It doesn't stop once you find a winner. You got to kind of iterate on those and make changes. So we're going to walk through how we do that as well. First thing we're going to focus on is the different ad placements. So Meta has three different placements, and you probably see these if you use the social platforms on your own. You have the in-feed, which is basically where you see standard posts from the people that you follow or the ads that you might see mixed in. It's all mixed in organic posts and ads, and that's where you're basically kind of scrolling. So when you're on Instagram and you're scrolling down, that's the feed. Same with Facebook. When you're on Facebook and scrolling through, that's the main feed. And like I said, the ads are mixed in organically within the post that you might see from a friend or a brand that you already follow. Stories and Reels. Facebook and Instagram both have stories and Reels. These are images and short videos that are basically a full screen immersive experience. Again, these are ads that are mixed in with organic post. So as you're kind of swiping through those Facebook or Instagram stories, you'll then see an ad pop up every few organic posts. You'll probably see an ad pop up. And again, it's typically full screen, much more of a mobile experience. You can see them on desktop on Facebook, but it's really meant to be a mobile, like I said, full screen experience for stories and reels. And the last is in-stream video. This is mainly a Facebook placement. It's when people are watching videos on Facebook. You'll see a video, an ad potentially before, during, like the middle of the video, and at the end. Like I kind of mentioned, going over the different placements, Meta ads are on both Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. So actually three. Messenger is kind of considered a separate app in that case. But when we say Meta, we're essentially talking about Facebook and Instagram primarily. That's where we'll be serving the ads. It does make up about 21 different ad types of placements that you can have across those different platforms. And the optimal specs that we see, and honestly, it just in order to help like kind of eliminate having to create a ton of different assets for your school, is a 1x1, so basically a square image for static images, and then a 4x5 video. So that's kind of almost that full vertical, but it's kind of an in-between size right there. That allows you to post it in, like I mentioned, in the different ad placements in the feed and in the stories and reels, kind of as a combo. So like that way you don't have to create, like I said, multiple different sizes. If you can focus on those two, you'll see the most success because they are the most well-used sizes. We have that square, which can be video as well, but primarily for images. And then video, we really like to use a 4x5. So it's a little bit more immersive, a little bit more full screen for people that are on a mobile device, which is the majority of the users that will be using Facebook and Instagram. And you can see some examples of that in right here. We'll have some, this is basically that 1x1, and you'll see there is a cropped video right here as well. And so that's a little bit more of a landscape video that we'll have in the post. Ideally, this would be a little bit more vertical, but this works as well. There is a variety of ways you can kind of use those different placements for the ad creative that you have already made or working on making. Next, we have Google ad placements. So for Google, we have Search, Display Network, and YouTube. Search is basically those text-based ads that you see at the results page of any sort of Google search inquiry that you use. Typically, they're right there at the top, but now with the infinite scroll, they're kind of mixed in as well at the bottom. And that's, again, text-based ads. You can add some different assets into that, that text-based ad, but that's getting a little bit into the weeds on what it is. It's really just primarily that text-based. Next is the display network. So this allows you to reach people across all the different types of websites that you can imagine. If you're scrolling on, say, a news website, you may see some ads on the side or at the bottom, different apps, and as well as Google-owned properties. So Google is more than just the search. They have YouTube, Gmail, and of course the display network. And then finally, we have YouTube. You could technically kind of put that under display network, but we have this broken out just because this is sort of a pre-roll or a video type of placement that you'll see an ad basically before, during, or after videos that someone's being watched on YouTube. Diving in a little bit more into Google Ads, we utilize pretty much all the placements. We typically have, and if you look back at our first webinar, you'll be able to see kind of our strategy on Google with the different campaigns that we utilize. But we typically run for music schools search campaigns and Performance Max campaigns. And so we were running them search, and then Performance Max allows us to basically utilize the display network and all of Google's properties. So it's YouTube, search, and Gmail. And that allows us to really kind of take advantage of all of that Google has to offer and reach users across search and YouTube and those display ads that you might see on like your favorite website or things like that. A couple of things to call out for the different specs. There is some character count limits for headlines and descriptions. We do like to have logos added in there for the Performance Max campaigns. Images, we have a variety of sizes that we like to use because, again, there's so many different placements that Google can choose from that we want to give them the most options. And then, of course, for video, we have a couple specs that we refer as well for YouTube. So go ahead, Kana.
Yeah, and just to expand on Performance Max a little bit, like we talked about this in our first webinar, and that recording is on our website. But it's basically Google is like, hey, trust us, just give us all your different assets, like give us some images, give us some video, write a few headlines, and we'll figure out the right combination of these around all of our different services that we can run ads on. So like Kirby said, the display network, on YouTube, on Google search, in the Discover feed, in Gmail, like these ads will show up all over the internet, but you don't have a lot of control over kind of how these combinations work together. It's kind of just give us all these assets and we'll figure out the best way to put these together.
Nice. Thanks for that. Now we're going to dive into the KPIs, the key performance indicators that we kind of look at to determine success. For this, the most important thing, and this goes kind of back to the second webinar that we did on conversion tracking, most important KPI is always going to be the conversion event that you're optimizing for. That sounds a little confusing. Again, I'd love for you guys to go back and watch that second webinar that Kana walked through. But basically, if you're optimizing for somebody to fill out a lead form or to call you, ideally the ad is optimizing for that event, and that's what we should focus on. But with some cases, you're not going to be getting more than maybe 15, 20, 30 leads or 30 phone calls or whatever, again, that event is. So there's a few other KPIs that we like to look at in order to make sure that the ad is working properly. On the Google side, we've got click-through rate. So that's basically how many users are clicking, like a ratio on that click versus impression, the cost per each click, the creative ranking, which we'll kind of get into when we're looking at how we're doing in creative testing, and of course impressions, like what videos or what images are being served the most by Google. Kind of to Kana's point on Performance Max, we give them so many different assets that we want to impressions allow us to kind of see Facebook's really favoring this specific combination or headline or description. So impressions is one of those KPIs that we look at. On Meta, again, similar, we look at click-through rate, cost per click. And then these are two sort of custom metrics that we build out for video specifically, and that's thumb stop ratio. So kind of I was mentioning like the feed or the stories. People are very quick. People are scrolling like at a faster rate than ever. So this is basically a ratio of total impressions divided by somebody watching 3 seconds of your video. That basically shows that it's engaging. There's a decent hook at the start of that video to get people to stop the scroll and start engaging with the video. And then the next impression or the next step that we would look at is hold rate, which is basically total impressions and then through play, which is greater than 15 seconds. So if your video is 15 seconds long, it'd be the entire video. If it's longer than 15 seconds, your video is longer, then it would just be if somebody watched greater than 15 seconds. And those two combinations are very important when optimizing your creative and testing your creative, because it allows you to show that you might need a better hook, which would be the start of the video, or it's the video might not be engaging enough and people are bouncing pretty quick. So they're stopping their scroll maybe for the thumb stop, but they're not quite holding and they're not quite engaging past a certain part to really get sort of the call to action that you're trying to get, which is to have new students sign up for your music school. But again, with all of these, we want to make sure that we're getting the conversion event that we're optimizing for. So if yours is total leads and getting somebody to fill out a lead form, even if your thumb stop ratio is great, it might be that you have an awesome engaging hook in your video, but people are then going to start watching it and realize it's not for them, and they're not actually going to turn out to be potential customers and fill out that lead form, which is why we really do try to look at the actual conversion event that's taking place and really optimize for that fully. These are helpful KPIs and metrics that we use to better understand the creative that's working. But again, it really comes down to you optimizing for the event that you want, whether it's leads, phone calls, booking trial lessons, etc. That should be what you're optimizing for. And these sort of KPIs help kind of dictate if the actual ad is successful, if you can't quite figure that out based off of that conversion event.
Yeah. And just to echo that, please, when you're building your campaigns, don't optimize for clicks or impressions. Try and get the conversion tracking set up, optimize for the conversion event. And then like Kirby said, these are helpful metrics when kind of comparing creative or trying to figure out how to iterate on creative. This is kind of helpful in kind of determining, what's working.
Now we're going to dive into specifically what we're seeing currently work great on Meta and Google for music schools. Some key kind of elements of this that we're noticing across the board is ad creative that is building trust. So kind of highlighting that you guys are like an actual legit business that's offering lessons. Previous customers' experiences, which we're going to dive into with like testimonials. And of course, the quality of your service. And that's what we kind of use, and I'll show examples of how we do that. These three sort of angles that you might have in your ad creative is what we're seeing across the board work pretty well. On Meta, for example, how we're kind of utilizing those three angles is for images. We are taking actual photos of your location, kind of just showing that it's like a legit place. It's clean. You guys have great equipment. It's welcoming. It's in a nice area, etc. Those type of images are performing really well. And other images that are performing really well are actual students, real students if possible, or if you have like a family friend or someone in your family that you could take photos of. Really making this look as organic as possible. We really want the image to not seem polished. And if you may have gotten a few of our emails, we kind of showed you which one do you think might work the best. It's really those organic looking photos, kind of this one at the bottom right there, that seem real, seem legit, and it really kind of fits in to the actual feed. We were talking about the feed where people are scrolling, fits in really well to what people are actually seeing on there, and they might stop and engage more than it looking just like a standard ad. So that's what we're really seeing from an image standpoint, what's working well on Meta. For videos, we're really liking a tour of your location. So you can do kind of like a video walkthrough. And again, these can be very organic. You can be using your iPhone or Android, so any a mobile device. You don't have to just use an iPhone. Mobile device. Sorry, Kana. I had to. Kana is an Android, and everyone else on the team's iPhone. So you can pick which one you think is better. But take a video. Like, it doesn't have to be professionally done. It really is more just about organically walking through, and really that kind of goes to what I was talking about with sort of the quality of service or building trust. Just showing that you guys are a legit business, awesome location, again, have great equipment, etc. And that's what we're seeing really work. And then lastly, your testimonial videos. That's that one on the top right there. Those have been performing great. It's really just because parents talking to parents or seeing actually kids talk about the school as well. It's really kind of hitting to the point of this is a legit business that's doing really good work, and people are stoked to bring their kids to that music school. And so video testimonials, if possible, have honestly been one of our best performers over the last couple of months. So something to definitely take a look at if you're kind of struggling with your ad creative currently.
Yeah, and like Kirby said, like, don't overthink this. Like, just go, like, one day in the middle of the day, just run around with your phone, take a bunch of pictures of your lobby, of the facility, of the classroom, students taking lessons. That kind of stuff works honestly really great.
Yep. The more organic looking, the better, from what we are seeing across Meta. And this is also just across majority of brands as well. This isn't just music schools. As long as your ad creative fits in well within the feed or in stories and things like that, we've seen some really good success and engagement. So yeah, definitely don't overthink the ad creative and having it be super professionally done.
We have come an internal saying at the agency: make ugly ads. And we don't want to actually put like ugly pictures out there. What it means is, like, don't try and like overproduce the ad, because people are really good at sniffing out what's an ad. And if they're scrolling their Instagram feed and they see something that has like a logo and a button and call to action text, like, most people are just going to gloss over that, because in their mind is like, oh, that's an ad, I can keep scrolling. Whereas if it's a very organic looking photo, they're going to be like, wait, why did this show up in my feed? Is this someone I know who posted this? It causes them to stop and actually engage with it.
Yeah, definitely. On the Google side, it's also very similar because, again, Performance Max allows us to utilize video and images as well on Google. So images of your location, interior and exterior, like we mentioned. Real students taking real lessons is a big winner. And of course, testimonial videos. Those are also working on Google. So Meta, you can kind of repurpose that ad creative for both Meta and Google, which is great and kind of saves you some time and effort and not having to really go out of the way for a piece of video content or images that you can't use. You have to do one for Google, one for Meta. For this, you can pretty much repurpose most of your ad creative across both platforms. On the copy side, because remember we talked about search ads, having a list of those instruments that you do offer, making sure you have the name of your music school, your brand, really talking about the different ages and skill levels that you potentially have to offer. Qualifying your teachers. Again, we're going back to kind of that building trust, showing your quality. So qualified teachers, fun lessons, engaging lessons. And if you are offering some sort of trial lesson or offer, make sure you include that as well in your ad copy.
And one extra thing just to note on the Google side, when you're writing your ad copy for Google, for one of the headlines, use dynamic keyword insertion. Google gives you a tool that allows you to basically take whatever the search query was that the user searched and plugged into Google, and apply that and use that as the headline. So if someone actually searches piano lessons near me, you can tell Google, just use whatever that search query was, piano lessons near me, as the headline. It's called dynamic keyword insertion. And that almost always works. Like, one of the best performers.
Yeah. Last section that we're going to be covering today is creative testing. So now you have all these different images, all these different videos, all the different ad copy. How do you go about actually testing that and getting it out there to kind of find a winner? The real goal of this is to find a few ads that are really cranking for you, and you can put some decent ad spend behind those ads and get some qualified conversions, and ideally some new students based off that creative. On Meta, one of the most important things when you come to overall creative is being really mindful of your daily budget. We've got to be really kind of focused in on only a few ads running at a time. For our typical music schools and the budgets that they're running, we very rarely have more than 3 ads per campaign, just due to budget constraints. You want to make sure that the ad creative that you're putting out there is getting enough budget to really be optimized, and that's just Facebook getting enough data, enough impressions, enough clicks, enough conversions to really understand if it is a worthwhile piece of image, video, and in a different ad copy. Once you do find a winning ad using kind of those KPIs that we talked about, conversion events, cost per click, click-through rate, hold rate, etc., you can then make iterations on those best performers. So you can find a winner, and then it's very, you can make easily like small little changes, whether it's different ad copy, which on Meta includes a headline, description, or primary text. You can test a different hook, which are those first 3 seconds, which I kind of talked about when I was going over the thumb stop ratio, that KPI that we use. You can also do a similar area of like focus. So like if you're seeing that interior images or videos are performing well, just make some more of the same. Don't overthink that. Like if it's working and you're getting good clicks on your lobby, like get a photo of your lobby, take maybe a video of your lobby and test that as well. If you're getting good engagement of kids actually doing lessons, try to get some more photos or videos of kids having lessons. So really just if you find a winner, you definitely want to make iterations based off of that. Now there is one area that you could test as well, which would kind of help if you have a smaller budget, and that's dynamic creative testing. This allows you to test basically multiple variations of different images, videos, and copy. With this, one recommendation I have, we typically don't fully use dynamic creative testing internally. We like to kind of set it up as a standalone test, so you have one image or one video against 2 other ones to, like I said, to keep it in that 3. But if you are using dynamic creative testing, which basically is uploading multiple images or videos or ad copy, I do recommend choosing a control. And so the best way that I see this going about is having the same ad copy and then testing different images or different videos. Maybe don't necessarily look at testing all these different ad copies and images, because if you have too many variations in there, it's going to be hard to really hone in or find a winner. So that's just something to keep in mind when you are running dynamic creative testing. And then, hey, sorry guys, I'm on my laptop. I saw maybe one question in there. So Kane, if you want to call out questions, a little hard for me to see on my laptop.
Yeah, Carrie just asked if we're taking, photos of students playing lessons. What are your thoughts on asking students to sign an agreement to use online? Technically, you don't need an agreement. They're considered like to be like in a public place, so you don't have to. But I think almost everyone, like if you're just kind of going, from classroom to classroom, be like, hey, can I take a couple pictures to like use on our website and stuff like that? Everyone's going to be like, yeah, go for it. So it might be, your own music school, case by case basis. It's not actually required.
Cool. That's all we got for Meta. Hopping into Google. So for Google, one way that we run that sort of creative testing, for example, we talked about Performance Max. You don't have to necessarily fill out all of the required or all different asset options, but we recommend really trying to start with all those options full. So we recommend using basically all 5 of those, whether it's logo, images, and ad copy for your Performance Max campaign. We then let those run between 1 to 2 months, depending on the data that we're getting back or your ad budget. And with that, we then are able to receive a ranking, and the assets get ranked from low to best. And so we use that ranking once we have we feel confident with the data that we're getting. Right the moment you get that sort of ranking, it's not going to be, you want to make sure it is going to change just because impressions, clicks, conversions. So give it some time. But once you kind of have those assets ranked and you feel confident with that ranking, we then make iterations based off of what we're seeing as a best headline, for example, or a best image. When we just try to then get all of our assets to be either in that good or best range when it comes to the rank. Kana or Elizabeth, anything else on the Google side for testing?
Yeah, real quick. So on the iterations, that can mean a lot of things. Like, what do we mean by an iteration of a working ad? And you won't necessarily know right away, but to give you an example of what that can look like, sometimes we have one music school that has like different studios for their lessons that are painted different colors. So one room is blue, one room is orange, one room is green. And we found that the pictures in the orange room always perform best, and the pictures of the blue room always perform low, which is really interesting because you could think, oh, it's like a close-up image of a student and their teacher. They're both in the shot. It's from this angle. So let's take that same picture in a different room. Sometimes that version of iteration is the case. Like, you should try that. Try and replicate the same photo, but with a different student in it or in a different setting. But yeah, it can mean a lot of different things. It might just be the color of the room works really well. So pay attention to any patterns in those rankings and see if you can create optimizations on that.
Awesome. Real quick, we have a Q&A right after this, but just wanted to highlight, like I said, this was the third of 4 in our webinar series. Our last webinar is our next one on May 8th. This is landing page best practices. So now you have some really good ad creative across Meta and Google, and people are clicking on it at a really good click-through rate using some of those KPIs. But now they're landing on a page on your website, and we want to make sure that's optimized as well to get the highest conversion rate possible to really drive growth for your school. So that's going to be our last webinar in the series. Again, that's May 8th. We'll be sending out some emails about that, and we hope to see you guys there. And that's it. So we definitely have some time for some Q&A. If you guys have any questions, I'll open up chat that I can kind of get out of that full screen and see if we have anything.
Yeah, feel free to post your questions in the chat right here, or you can just unmute yourself and chime in if you've got any questions. I'll just kind of to recap everything. We've been working with music schools now for a couple of years, and when we first started working with our music schools, like, we had some ideas on what we thought might work best, and you don't know until you actually run it and test. And the conclusions that we kind of came to, organic photos of students playing instruments, facility shots, testimonial videos from parents, like, that was all kind of the culmination of a lot of work over the past 2 years, trying to really dial that in and figure out what type of stuff really works. So we encourage everyone to test with their own market and their own music school to really kind of dial that in, but this should give you a pretty good head start in terms of what you should be kind of deploying out there. Anyone with any questions?
Yeah, there's one in the chat, Kana. Jordan asked if we offer to help music schools with their ads, aka can I pay you to do it for me? And if so, what's the pricing for that? So yes, we do offer that. We have quite a few music school clients. On the webpage that has the recording for all our webinars, you should have access to that, and we'll send it out after as well. You can see the full offering of our services and the standard pricing. Or I guess we could just pull it up at the bottom. And it's just, we have a set fee of $1,500 a month for our fee, and we recommend $3K in ad spend per month. And with that, we do all this build out, the tracking, the optimization, ongoing optimization. We'll provide unique recommendations to you for your school based on what we see working. Essentially, we handle everything that we've covered in any of those webinars, if you'd like to go that route.
Yeah, Kirby, go back to the website there and just scroll down to the bottom. Yeah, so all of this is on our site. If you want to engage with us, just feel free to reach out. This kind of sums up everything that you get with our engagement.
Do y'all help getting the content? Oh, I'm sorry. Do y'all help getting the content, or would we be responsible for like getting those organic photos and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's best if you provide, the photos, because it is your music school. We work with a few music schools that, they might have trouble getting a lot of good photos for cello lessons or something, a little more specific. And so we do sometimes kind of mix in some stock photos, and certainly if, you work with us, we can help at least get you up and running with some stock assets. But we recommend for the creative that you ultimately provide that.
And we can help with the editing process as well. Like if you send us like a mix up of like 10 to 20 testimonials, we'll work with you on editing that down to a 15-second video or 30-second video, as well as your location videos and things like that. But we aren't based next to every school, so we can't go in there and actually take the photos. So ideally, you're able to kind of lead that effort, and then we can then edit and have it make sense for the ad platforms.
Come on,
And on
Chris.
the copy,
Antonio.
we won't do the images, but we do handle all the copy.
Yeah.
So anything written, we have that covered.
From Elizabeth's comment about the colors, I've always heard like the light colors are better to teach in, so maybe that's why the orange does better than the blue, because blue is more of a cool color. So you want to kind of stay in that like light tan to orange, probably sector of colors. I mean, that's just what I've learned through school and life.
Yeah, color theory is super interesting. Like big brands will spend all this money on coming up with a brand identity and pursuing certain colors for certain reasons. And yeah, blue is a lot of like safety and trust and calming. Orange and yellows are very much more lively and exciting. And I think for music schools, like obviously that kind of stuff resonates the most. Charge, we've got one of our current clients that we started working with here in January on the call. What was the most surprising thing to you in terms of like ad creative once we started kind of working with you and testing this stuff?
Probably, I mentioned it when you said get us a testimonial. I thought, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't want to ask my clients to do that. I thought, oh, what do I have to do? And you suggested give them a free lesson or some sort of incentive. But I was surprised to find that just, hey, would you mind sharing your thoughts about what your experience is like here? And yes, right now. Okay. All right. So just put the phone on and film them. And I was shocked because I'd never really, I always thought that was sort of icky, but that has been shockingly, amazingly, I mean, the whole experience with you guys so far has been eye-opening. But that part, I thought we'd never get through that. And the other stuff, was able to hand you guys photos, and you took off and did. I dumbfounded. So if you it's so hard to put all like what has happened in the past since January 20th when we launched it is insane. The amount of and we were on what is on their website, which is the minimum budget and plus their fee, and it's been every month is a new record month. I'm not making that up. But the most surprising thing was, I think that your clients will do if they love you, they're going to do whatever you ask them to do. It's kind of crazy.
As long as you're a good music school and parents are pretty happy with you, yeah, they're usually pretty game for recording a little 20-second testimonial. I love that for the music school because the teachers are great or whatever it is.
Yeah, and that's been people, even friends and other people, they're saying, "Hey, we saw your video." Like they're seeing it, so it's getting out there. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and Charles, you're adding what, like 15 new students a month right now, something like that.
Oh, it's more than that. I mean, we're up since January 1st. We're up 125 students.
I mean, I won't take credit for all of those, but you know,
You can't. But
at least 120 of them, maybe.
the exposure,
Yeah.
I think it's been, because we did about 100 last year on a $500 a month budget on Google, doing it myself, not really knowing what I was doing. So hiring you guys has been, it's, as my business partner says, we're too busy and it's all your fault. Like we've had to hire teachers, and it's been great. We're sitting on an expansion now. We're going to be building more and doing more. So, and it's not, we were kind of thinking about that last year anyways, but now it's like, it's crazier. And these people asked me to double the budget. I'm like, I can't even handle the minimum budget. I can't guarantee that's going to work for everyone's school, but just that's what it did for us, like pretty immediately. And I have screenshots to back it up. So
Yeah.
I feel free to ask me any questions if you have questions for me as a client or whatever.
Jenna, you got a question?
Yeah, so I found out about y'all obviously through, or I don't know how everybody found out about y'all, but through Opus, they posted it in the group. So I was curious, how do y'all deliver the leads? Does it plug into Opus in any way? Because that's half the battle, is if you give me 100 leads or something like that, and then I got to manually enter data, that's just an extra step. And I kind of been down an advertising path before, and I want to have a strong funnel. So I don't know how y'all work with Opus so it's easier to deal with leads that come in.
Yeah, that's a really great question. Opus recently released some updates that they now provide a lead form. So if you're just getting site visitors to come and they want to just fill out a form to get more information, get in contact with the school, Opus now provides a lead form, and when someone fills that information in, it automatically imports them into Opus's CRM system. So it's different for every school. I mean, we work with some schools where they might have like a Squarespace website and they already have like a pretty good flow set up that they want to keep continuing, and so we'll work with whatever you have in place in terms of driving leads into whatever system you already have established. But we have a couple of music schools now that are using Opus's new lead forms and CRM system, and they're pretty happy with that for exactly that reason, Jenna. It automates all of that stuff.
Yeah, we use the Opus Plus and it works out very well, but I don't want to have to be plugging in information to something like that, So it sounds like y'all figured that out.
Yeah, drive them right into that Opus lead form, and then it's all automated.
Additionally, a lot of music schools who use Opus also offer trial lessons. So we'll try and drive conversions both through the Opus lead form if you have that set up, and also just directly into the trial lesson booking system. So it's like even more than a lead at that point. You already have a booking.
Yeah, like I'll show you kind of an example right here. This is one of the music schools.
Would it work with Duet Partner, like another external website online?
Presumably, yes. So that kind of gets into setting up like conversion tracking and making sure that we can kind of fire tags on a third-party platform. We spent some time figuring out and kind of working with Sam at Opus on the kind of implementing a lot more robust backend tracking. But yeah, generally, if they let you deploy tags, at least in terms of reporting conversions back to the ad consoles, that's usually not a problem. As far as like automating the CRM component of that and passing the lead information into your CRM, not totally sure, case by case basis.
Yeah, thanks.
I was gonna,
Does-
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, does the what's the news? Opus use what's the card online? Sorry. Does it accept credit cards?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So
Right
here,
from
I'll,
Stripe? Right.
I'll pull up and show you an example. So like this is one of our music schools, and they actually on like their piano lessons page, they have 2 call to action buttons. The first one is this request info button, and they've got 3 locations. And so this will push them into the Opus lead form. And so this, as soon as someone fills this out, they're in the Opus system, and then everything's kind of automated in terms of following up. If they click the book a trial, this also same thing, pick a location. So we pick a location here. This dumps into Opus's booking platform. And if you're not familiar with this, most of the clients that we work with use this as a platform, and it's great because it gives parents like a really easy place to sort of, do self-service bookings. So like, okay, I'm interested in drum lessons. I pick a teacher, it shows their availability. I can pick a time. And then, yeah, Carrie, you've got the price down here for booking this trial lesson, they process all the credit cards and everything just here online. It's pretty straightforward. Anyone else? Any questions? Well, thanks everyone for jumping on today. We appreciate your time. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you've got some good takeaways to sort of take back and apply to your own music schools. Like Jordan Music School asks, we are available if you want to work with us to kind of manage all of your digital marketing. All that information is on our website, redblindmedia.com. And we're going to be hosting another webinar in 2 weeks on landing pages and best practices for those. So hopefully you all can attend that one as well. Any other follow-up questions, feel free to email us, and we'll shoot out a copy of this recording once we wrap this up and publish it probably tomorrow. So thanks everyone for your time.
Thanks, everyone.